Thank you again for watching us. This is what we call our PolicyCast. And what we're trying to do here is to outline some of the priorities that we're going to be focused on this year in the Congress. We did ask for input from people through our Facebook page, and we have gotten a lot of good input, and we've taken that and come up with some suggestions that we hope are on point and will address the issues people think are most important. I think an overarching priority for the country and for all of us here in the Congress this year is going to be job creation and getting the economy going at a faster pace than it currently is going. So that's going to be a priority that has a lot of parts to it, but clearly we're going to be working on that. One part of creating jobs and getting the economy going, of course, is trying to do so in the energy sector. The President talked about that in his State of the Union speech. I think everyone recognizes now that we are in a long-term transition from the economy that has been dependent upon fossil fuels to one that is less dependent upon fossil fuels and more dependent upon clean energy sources. And the idea that the President has and that many of us have is that the United States needs to capture as many jobs as possible during that transition. So we're going to be focused on that, what we can do to stimulate demand for new technology that moves us to this clean energy economy, what we can do to stimulate manufacturing of products that move us toward this clean energy economy, deployment of projects that move us toward this clean energy economy. All of that is going to be part of what we try to do in our Energy Committee. Another priority, of course, is the rewrite of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, of course, which is the basic law under which the federal government provides assistance to elementary and secondary education around the country. This was renamed by President Bush as No Child Left Behind. I think we will probably wind up renaming it again, but the main thing is the substance of it. And we're going to have extensive hearings and discussions about how to make it more workable. Frankly, the version of it that is currently law does not meet the reality that we have in New Mexico and a lot of other places. We need to provide incentives for improvements in education and recognize those improvements when they occur. We don't want to have a law that just stigmatizes particular schools for failing to meet an absolute standard regardless of where they started from. If they're making improvements, we need to acknowledge that and encourage more of that. A big focus, of course, this year is how do we deal with the very large deficit that we've developed here in the federal government, and that will mean spending constraints. I hope it also means that we at least begin a discussion of long-term reform on entitlement programs and whether or not the revenue that the government is projected to receive over the long term is going to be adequate to meet these commitments that the government is making. All of that is going to be contentious. There's no question about that. I think that a lot of people who endorse the idea of reducing the deficit are willing to do so only in a particular way that appeals to them. Obviously, we're going to find that in order to get the size deficits we currently have under control, we're going to have to do a lot of things, both on the spending side and the revenue side, to get where we need to be. I think there's also a real consensus in Washington and around the country that we need to reform the tax code. It's way too complicated. There are an awful lot of special interest provisions embedded in the tax code today, which really can't be justified as good public policy. I hope we can make real progress on that. Frankly, it is a difficult issue to to confront, both substantively and politically. It's a difficult issue to confront, and I think it's not clear how much progress we'll be able to make this year, but I know that in the Finance Committee, which I'm privileged to serve on, we're going to begin hearings and try to get into it and see how much we can do by way of reforming the tax code. I hope we can make a very substantial progress on this. Another issue, which frankly I don't think is going to be as much a legislative issue as it is an administrative issue, and that is the continued efforts to prepare for implementing the new healthcare reform law. There were a great many requirements that we put on the administration for steps that they needed to take to implement this law as part of the law. And we had our first hearing this week with Secretary Sebelius, Secretary of Health and Human Services, where she talked about many of the things that they've begun to try to do to implement that law. I'm sure there'll be a lot of debate here in the Congress about different aspects of it, and that's appropriate. I'm sure there are ways we can improve the law, and clearly we ought to try to find those ways to improve it and move ahead with it. Again, thanks for watching. This is our first PolicyCast of the new Congress, but we hope to do these every few weeks and keep you up to date on what we're trying to accomplish here in Washington. Thanks.